Hello, hello. We're not starting just yet. I'm just gonna get set up and wait for people to find us. So I do apologise at night. No, that makes it much worse. The light is not great in this house, so when I do demos at night, it's a bit shadowy. So I do apologise. So we'll just hold on for a minute, see if people are gonna join us live. I'm just gonna have a bit of tea. My mint tea after food ritual, very yummy. So today we're going to be doing another challenge. I've really enjoyed this lately. I find that doing challenges can open up your creativity, and it's really interesting actually. I follow Finnabair, and she started doing an inspirational sort of video series, like chats with Finnabair, if you like. And yesterday she was talking about how challenges, like, well, not challenges necessarily, but restricting yourself to a certain theme or supplies can really help kickstart things. And I totally agree. Doing these sort of challenges where you're restricted to a theme or certain supplies have really helped me a lot lately, and I've made some things that are surprising or I really liked. So I definitely recommend joining in. So yeah, today it's going to be the Prima Art Daily Cafe March challenge, which the theme is Moonlight. The colour is, what do they describe it as? Deep blue, I think they describe it as. And the technique has to include something like splatters, dots, that sort of thing. So I've popped the links in the video here. So check that out, join in if you can, or maybe even better, craft along with me. And do say hello if you're popping in. So what time are we? We're 7 o'clock now. We'll just hold on a second. I'm going to experiment a bit today as well. This was an idea I had a while ago, or rather, actually, it wasn't my idea. I take it back. It's one of the Hobbylicious ladies' idea. I was saying about working on different surfaces, and I was talking about acetate, and they said, I wonder if you could work on mylar. So this is a piece of mylar, the same material that stencils are made from. So we're going to have a little experiment today and see what working on mylar is like. This is a thick mylar. I think they use 350 micron. If you are watching, ladies, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But it's a thick mylar anyway. So it's sturdy enough for us to work on, as long as we're not doing anything too crazy. And we could always put this into a frame or back it onto a board or something after. So this is going to be my base that I'm going to work on today, and it is semi, you can see my hand through there. I don't know how well you can see that on camera. So it'd be cool to play around with to see what you could see from the back, so you could work on the back as well. I'm going to start off with some tissue paper today. When I thought of the theme, this popped into my head straight away. I bought this lovely tissue paper from, what's the shop called? Paperchase. I love their stationery gift stuff. It's really nice, and this popped into my head straight away because of the colour, and also there's stars in it, and I bought this just because I loved it, and I've had it a while now and not used it, so we're going to use it today. And that's what I'm going to start with. So I'm just going to rip, I don't want to cover the whole piece, I want like an interesting shape. So it's quite strong tissue paper. I could actually wet my brush maybe to tear this. So let's see. So you could do this same kind of thing in your art journal or something like that, or similarly onto a canvas board. Would look nice as equally. Okay, look like that. So we'll tear a little bit more there. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to stick this on with some, what you would see as matte medium, matte gel. This is, they call it medium acrylic, so this is Fabrique Deco's medium acrylic. So it's a thin gel, but it's very sticky. I have not cleaned my pot again. I'm really bad at that. Do clean your pots, people. Am I going to get into this one? No. I'm going to need my scissors. Oh, thank you, Manisha. That's really kind. Oh, please clean the pots. They're a nightmare to get into when you don't, because it's super sticky. So it sticks to the pot when you don't clean it. Let's see, can I get into this one? Okay, I can't get into that one. Change of plan. So, same thing. Soft matte gel. Prima's one. There we go, this tub's opening. Naughty me. So this is exactly the same trick. So I prefer to use matte because, as it says, it has a matte finish, so it's not going to, if I get a bit too much on, it's not going to leave a glossy patch on my surface. Did I bring my paintbrush water over? No, of course I didn't. Excuse me a moment, I shall just get my water pot. You think you're all organised and then you start and you're not. I did pour the water, I just didn't bring it with me. So it's not much use over in my kitchen, is it? Here we go. So you do want to wipe this off your paintbrush quite quickly once you're done. As I say, it's very sticky, so it will make your brushes very, very hard if you don't get that off. So, and I put it onto the back a bit, just rough brushing. Don't need to cover all of it, just enough. Okay, and then I'm going to put it onto the surface as well, so I know that it was something roughly like that. Okay, and as you lay this, you could choose to scrunch it a little bit to get a bit of texture, or lay it flat if you want it flat, that's fine. So we'll scrunch a little bit. There we go. And then we can go, oops, over the top with this as well. So that kind of seals it in as well. Whoops. Doesn't matter if we tear it a little bit, that's fine. It's just adding to our pattern. I'm a bit heavy-handed, so I do often rip it when I do this, but that's fine, it doesn't matter. If there's any hanging off, we can trim that at the end when it's dry. So that's that. So this is our first layer. I'm just going to give this a rough dry. Now, we're not entirely sure how the Mylar will... I did do a little test on a corner with a heat gun. Obviously the stencils are cut with a laser, so we know it can handle heat, but this is an intensified heat, like a pinpointed on a heat gun. So I'm going to wave it around a bit, try not to stay in one area, so we're not entirely sure how the Mylar will react. And this should dry fairly quick. It's a thin gel, as I said, so it shouldn't take an awful lot of time to dry. Okay, that is dry. Right, so next what I'm going to do is some stenciling. Put that down there. So I've got one of my old stencils. This is a Kaisercraft one. Can't remember the name of it now, but I just thought these would make quite cool stars. So I'm going to, what shall we use? I've got one of the airy mousses from Fabrica Decori. This is in a blue metallic colour. This is called Electric. Shall we try that? I just thought they were, I mean obviously they're crosses, but it reminded me of like the way stars sort of blur out. And what I will do is grab some heavy body gel. So that's the thinnest of the gels, High Claire, that Prima do, and then at the other end of the spectrum you've got heavy body gel, which is super strong. And with this you can make custom paste. So that is a mousse, so it's not as thick as a modeling paste. So whoops, we can mix some of our heavy body gel, it looks pretty grim but it's really fab stuff, into the mousse, and this will give us a much thicker consistency, so it will give us a crisper stenciling. So I've just put some of that on my mat, and these are very pigmented, so we don't need an awful lot of this. See the yummy colour? So it's not quite a paste, but it's much thicker. We can see the body, it's much thicker than a paint. And the other bonus, why mix this with gel rather than modelling paste? Well, most modelling paste is white, so when you mix that together you're going to dilute the colour and also take away, if you're using something metallic, you'll take away a lot of that sparkle mixing it with that. Whereas a gel, it's going to keep its true colour because the gel itself is clear. So I'll show you. So this is our new paste, our new gel rather. So same colour. So let's get this where we want it. A little bit higher. Oops, stick my finger in that. Obviously the Mylar is like a slippery surface, so I could have actually covered the whole surface in a clear gesso, or that same matte medium actually would have given us a bit more of some, you know, a matte surface for this to cling to better. But that's okay, it should still be fine because it's nice and thick now. And when you're stenciling, you're pushing, you're not sort of scraping it completely back. You don't want to lose everything you've done there. So I always say to imagine like you're buttering toast. You know, you put the butter on, you wipe the excess off, but you're not pulling all the butter back off. Okay, so that should do it. Lovely. Ooh, that looks quite cool. Right, I'm just going to move that and give my stencil a quick wipe. So if you can get your stencil straight into hot water, hot soapy water, that's the best. If you're doing like this, like me demoing, or you're on the move and you can't quite get to a tap, then carefully with a baby wipe or a wet cloth, you can clean that off to get the worst off. That up. Right, and we'll bring back our work. So we can see that's quite nice stenciling. So again, I'm going to carefully dry this. And this is looking quite interesting already. I'm going to be using, you can probably see it peeking here, this gorgeous frame here that Hobbylicious have designed. I said to them that I wanted to get some frames and things, so this will be a product I'll be getting in sometime soon with some other frames. There's some other ones that Deb's designed for us there, so I'm going to use that. I thought it just fitted well with this feel, and it was just smaller than the Mylar, so it worked perfectly for this project. And I've got some also Prima mouldings that I've made with the modelling material. If you saw my live before of the new products, that's this material here. So it's an air dry clay or modeling material. It dries, it's very light. It is hard, but you know, if you press it too much you can break it. But it's really picks up the details nicely because of the soft consistency of it. You can really push it into the molds. So I'm going to be using some of those. I think I'm going to paint everything in black gesso because I'm going to use some metallic elements and they show up really intense on black. Let's see how this is doing. That's almost there. So if I'd have just used the mousse on its own, we'd have still got a nice stenciling, but not quite as crisp as this because it's not a super thick consistency. And it's great as well, say you've got the perfect colour that you want to use, but you've only got it in a paint, you don't have a gel or a paste, then it's a great way to make your own custom. So you can mix paint colours as well, so you could mix your own colour perfectly to match your project. So it's a useful tool to have. The heavy gel is also brilliant for sticking bulky or heavy or sort of awkwardly shaped embellishments, so it's a good one to have. I'm just going to have a slurp of tea, excuse me a minute. Right, so let's have a think. So I was thinking to have this on here. So yeah, let's go ahead, we'll put this to one side for a minute. And this is how it looks from the back, by the way. So see what I mean? How it see-throughs. That's quite cool. So let's get our embellishments. So I've got those. I've got a couple of tiny wooden stars. Was there anything else I wanted to use? I had some chipboards here. Chipboards and grey boards from AB Studio. These are a mixture of different packs. So shall we pull a couple of those out maybe? A couple of cogs. Go for the sort of smaller ones. One bigger one. I'm going to keep that there as well because the negatives, yeah, it's fab clear. The negatives are great to help raise our pieces up. So these just pop out. You can use your nail, the end of a paintbrush, scissors, something like that. They pop out very easily. I haven't torn any yet. They seem to come out nice and crisply. So they've been well cut. And yeah, keep the little bits. I mean, not tiny ones, but like this round piece, for instance, that would be really useful to help prop up an embellishment and save you spending out on things instead. So we'll have that. We've got this one and this one. This one's got a little one in the middle, so I'm just going to use my pen. There we go. Right, so let's move all those little bits. So we need to paint these with black gesso now. So one, it's colouring it black. The gesso is also matte, so it's priming the surface, making a nice matte, you know, so non-slippery surface for us to work on. And then the black, yeah, because we want the metallics to shine off. So let's get a new paintbrush. We'll get a smaller one because these are quite small embellishments. I'm going to be using Fabrica Decoru black gesso. I also like the Prima black gesso. So these are kind of my two brands lately that I use. The Prima is a thicker, it's a heavy body. This isn't heavy bodied. And I would say that the Prima is slightly more pigmented. So sometimes I do give 2 coats with this, especially like this if you're working on a dark wood. But not always. It just depends on the finish, you know, what does the look, if the black is important, so the black's going to stay bare in places, I might give 2 coats. If it's just like this to prime and we're putting something else on top, 1 coat is more than fine. So I'm just brushing over, not being too neat, not too much on my brush because I don't want it to go everywhere. I'm just going to do that, so just bear with me while I do this. What have you all been up to? Anything exciting going on? Any crafty plans this week? What are you all up to? Or is it just work, 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 and sadly no crafting? Nice to hear what you're up to. And you know, have you bought any new goodies lately? Anything exciting? Or anything you're dying to get your hands on? This time of year is just a nightmare for me because it's when most of the brands release their kind of yearly catalogue, if you like, so their main core products for the year, not seasonal items, but also seasonal items. And it's just like, what do I buy? I want it all. You know, because I am a crafter ultimately. That's how I started and that's how I'll always be. So it's doubly hard. So I want to buy it for the business because I think you'll like it, and then I want it for myself. And yes, it's been very bad this year. Like the last couple of years where I've really got into mixed media and focused the business on mixed media, it's been even worse because now I'm buying more what I love myself personally. It's even harder not to spend. Claire, we had our youngest second birthday. Oh, that's nice. And I can't wait to use the Mintay kit on her birthday. Oh yeah, that'll be cute. Yeah, Mintay papers are great for children. So we just had a new Mintay range that's got children. It's got like cute bunnies and stuff in it, but it's very unisex. It's not overly girl or boy. It's a nice neutral palette, like yellows and stuff in it. It's very cute. So I'm just now working on the modeling material pieces. You could do the sides of the frame as well. I'm not going to fuss too much. So I'm going to have paints possibly going on top. So I'm not going to be too crazy with the finish with the gesso. Just get the majority, that's what I'm looking for. So yeah, if you're starting in mixed media, I would say gesso is a really important one. Even just for papers, you know, if you're going to be using wet mediums like ink sprays or watercolors, something like that, gesso is so important. It'll stop you wasting your products. It's going to prime that surface and stop stuff soaking through. And so then if you put things in like an album and you're going to see the back, if you don't put gesso on, it's going to look really ugly from the back. The same with an art journal. You're going to see all that staining coming through, and that's not nice. So yeah, gesso is a must-have tool for me. And a question, or why gesso and not acrylic paint? Well, acrylic paints are glossy, so that's going to resist things like ink sprays. They're water-based, they'll just run off. And also because paint is much more expensive than gesso, and you're going to use a lot more of it. So yeah, gesso is quite cheap in comparison to paint, and it just really helps. So I do recommend gesso. And you can start off with a cheaper one and then maybe decide you want a better brand. This Fabrica Decoro ones are very reasonable price as well, actually. So they're not particularly expensive. Even the Prima brands, they're not, you know, it's not a massively expensive material compared to, say, like a paste. So yeah, do get some of that if you're planning on using wet mediums. Also for like waxes and things like that, it just helps give us a matte you know, surface for something to go on. If you try and put, say, wax straight onto something glossy like metal or resin, it's just going to slip about and not be very easy to put on. Okay, so we're almost done here. You saw a tutorial on a mini book. Oh, the Minte design team is great. They produce some fantastic things. I try and share a lot of the design teams of the brands we stock's work, because, you know, we can put our bits on, but we can only do so much, and obviously we have lots of different brands, so we try and get our design team working on a variety of things. So yeah, we share their stuff as well. Okay, this little dinky star. Almost there with the gesso now. So this is the kind of boring part, and what some might say is like ugly, like, oh, everything's black and not very pretty at the moment. But the next stage is where it becomes very pretty, so we just have to bear with this stage and sort of have our open mind, and very soon it's going to be pretty. Oops. Little diddy stars. I don't know where I got them from. Just like tiny chipboard stars. Okay, that should do. Right, so get rid of that brush. I'll just clean my hand a little bit. So we're going to dry that now, because we're going to apply some more water-based mediums on top, and we don't want the two mixing together, or we'll just get black mush. We won't get anything very pretty. And again, it's gesso, so it will dry quick. Just clean my fingers a little bit so I'm not rubbing black back onto it. Right, I'll do. Right, a quick blast with this and a bit of tea. If anyone has any questions at any point, do pop them in the comments and I will try my very best to answer. If I can't answer it straight away, I will go away and come back to you on it. So next we need to start putting these onto our main piece. So we want to make sure we've got a decent adhesive as well. That's another very important tool in a mixed media artist bank. When you're working in lots of layers and possibly with quite heavy things at times, the last thing you want is to stick stuff on and the whole thing falls off. That is so upsetting when that happens. Especially in my earlier days when I didn't know as much perhaps about them, gels and things like that. Yeah, so it can be what you want, your preference, gel, glue, whatever it is that you like. Just make sure it's reliable. You don't want that coming off. Tic-tac-toe, yes, Claire. So for those that don't know, we also have Thompson's Craft Supplies group here on Facebook, and we run a challenge every 2 months called the Tic-tac-toe. So what we do is set up a grid of 9 squares. You can choose a line of any 3 and interpret that as you want to. So any kind of make, just use 3 things from there. We also started doing a mood board as well to go along with it, to give you perhaps some inspiration. And we will choose a winner, and it's not whose is the best, you know, technically or something like that. It's just someone's we really are drawn to, and you know, we can see have made a big effort. That's what we will go for. And yeah, you'll get a £10 voucher code to use on our website, so it's worth having a go. Right, so I think now I could paint these off here, which is easier, but I don't actually know where I want to go with this yet, so I'm actually going to stick them down first and then decide. So as I was saying, a decent adhesive. Now this is a glossy surface, so this is really important this time. So for this project, I do not like using glue guns anyway, but I absolutely would not use a glue gun here because this is plastic to plastic. It's going to peel off probably straight away, so we don't want that. So I'm going to go back to, just to be sure, because of this being glossy, I'm going to go back to that heavy gel that I had before, I think, on this occasion, because it's not a product I've stuck stuff to before, Mylar. So just to be sure, I'm going to use this. So I will get an old paintbrush, because this is very strong, like a tatty one, and I'll apply it that way. And we don't need everywhere, just enough that there's going to be contact with what we're sticking to. And you do have to be a little bit patient with this stuff. You know, it's not a smooth texture, so you've got to be patient while you get it stuck to it. But it's worth it to know then that our things are going to stick, which is important. I think probably a 3D gel would have been fine, but as I say, I've not ever used Mylar in this way, so I just want to be confident this is going to stay. Okay, that should be enough because it is super strong stuff. I'll put a little bit there. There we go. So let's go, whoops, I've stuck something to it there. Let's go there. Okay, oops, sorry. Right, now let's have a look. I missed a bit of black gesso there. That's okay. Right, so let's have a play. Where do we want things to sit? So I was thinking to have the moon in the middle here, and I had the round moon. So on the Finnabair, the Art Daily mood board was kind of the different phases of the moon, so I thought that was nice to include the full moon and this kind of crescent moon. Have both moons present. So I'm just playing. I don't stick straight away because I like to have a little play, see how things look before I commit. And actually I came from paper crafts into scrapbooking, which kind of then got me into mixed media. And a thing from Chamel, if you're a scrapbooker, very famous scrapbooker, she works in these kind of triangles as ways of framing your center of focus, and it's always stuck with me, and I do like that. So I like odd numbers anyway on my work. I lost the star. Oh no, it's there. So, but it is a very good technique of ways of framing your work to work in a triangle of 3 around your centerpiece. It does work quite well. Okay, I think something like that. Maybe that on top of that. Oh yeah, that looks quite good. Okay, so I'm going to stick that down now. Same, I'm going to use the same gel. I can use my palette knife again now because these are mostly bigger ones. So it's just a bit fiddly with that frame to use a palette knife. So these are light embellishments, so I don't need tons. Oops, I missed that one. And we can scrape off the excess there. You can get a little paintbrush in there or your palette knife. And once we've done this bit, we'll get onto the fun bit of starting to add some colour. What have you got in mind for your challenge, Claire, or don't you yet? Claire's actually been one of our winners on the tic-tac-toe before. I love it because we have a real variety of sort of crafts and styles on there. It's fun to see how everyone takes the same inspiration boards and stuff and comes up with something totally different. I like that. That's one of my favorite things when I teach, to see how someone can take the same instructions and tools and materials and come up with totally different things, even using the same colors, how different they can look. It really is one of my favorite things to sort of see. I'm interested in people's, you know, how people think, and it's like, wow, okay, I didn't think of it that way. I just joined a new design team for LG Crafts, and people have been popping up some of their makes on there with brands I'm familiar with, like 13 Arts, and it's like, oh, I never would have thought of that way, and I love that. It's really interesting. Okay, so we've got that down. So I'd like to add a little bit of texture at this point before we start to colour. So I'm going to switch to a lighter medium. So I'll go back to my soft matte gel to add small textures. So I don't need the heavy body gel now. These are very, very light and small. So I've got some hobbles. These are the small hobbles, so the very, very small ones. You can see them. Great texture. So we'll just pop some of these on my mat. Okay. And get some gel. I'm going to mix that together, and I'm going to add that to my work with paintbrush again. You can be careful when you mix this that you don't fling them everywhere. And I'm always finding this sort of stuff and like I don't know, glitter and stuff everywhere on my floor. Whoops. And like embossing powder is the worst one, because I just go and blow it everywhere instead of sweeping it up. Whoops, naughty me. Right, so we've got now, like, it looks pretty strange, like a lumpy paste, but we just dab our paintbrush and we're going to go onto our work. So this is a matte gel. Did I stick that moon? I didn't stick that moon, did I? Whoops, I always miss one. Where the put me gel? Over here. Let's stick that moon down before I forget again. So yes, I was saying that the mixture we've made is matte, so we don't need to worry about how it looks. It will dry clear. As long as you don't put it on too thick, it'll dry more than nicely. Right, there we go. Now the moon is stuck. What was this one? I thought I'd got them all. Didn't stick down the most important parts. Silly flunker. Right, back to our hobbles. Continue sticking them on. So I'm gonna just go on the moon, bit of texture on him, and this is good for like filling in gaps as well, especially when you've got lots of layers. If something just looks a bit funny, you can use it to plug a gap, so that's quite handy. and it also kind of connects pieces, so where we've got those different layers, we can join those layers together using this kind of mixture. And also when you squish bits down, if you've got that excess gel, you could just sprinkle something like this over to cover that messy gel. So I'll hold this up so you can see in a minute. I will load this to our YouTube channel after. We're on YouTube there, same name, Thompson's Craft Supplies. But it will be here as well, again, to watch on the page after. It takes a couple of minutes, I think, to upload again once we've finished. So if you missed anything and you want to watch back, don't worry, it will be there. Okay, so that'll do. Just wipe that excess off. And we're going to dry that again. I think before I do that though, I'm going to add some more. So I've got some micro beads in silver. I really want this to be quite textured. And I've got some glass beads in crystal and also in turquoise. So I'm going to make another gel. These are a little bit bigger, so I think I will use 3D gloss gel this time. I think they would be fine. Well, I know they would be fine with the matte gel that I just had, but it's just I find it a bit easier with a bit thicker for these stones. I'll just mix all three together at the same time because it doesn't matter for this piece. So a few micro beads and then some of the glass beads. And the reason I want to do this now is because I'd like, when I start adding colour, some of these to pick up colour, so especially the hobbles. So I like a lot of texture in my works, and this is a great way to do that, and the different sizes give interest, so it's not all one texture, it's lots of different textures. Okay, so I'll go back in with my brush, pick this mixture up, and we'll go again. Now this is a gloss that I've just used, so it would be better to use a matte. I can fix that by popping some clear gesso over the top of those areas, so not to worry. It will look a bit strange at this stage, while it's all still white. Just have to use your imagination at this stage to think how it will look. Okay, I think that will do. We don't want to go too nuts. Right, so again, just wipe that off so I don't stick my work to it. Right, so let's dry and then we can go ahead and get some colour. I have to remember one of the requirements for this challenge is splatters, so I have to remember that. I'm thinking definitely at the end I'll add some splatters. I was thinking that the splatters can be star-like almost, so like a starry sky. So I've got some silver paint here. So some of this mixture will take a long time to dry fully, so especially where I've used the 3D gel, so it will look completely clear tomorrow. We just want it to be at this point dry enough that we can carry on to the next stage. In fact, I think I will leave the glossy bits glossy, because that would be quite cool. So some bits will resist any inks that I add or watered paints. And then the bits that with the matte gel will absorb it. So that would be quite cool actually. Let's see the difference. Almost there. So I've pulled out some of the new Dina Wakley sprays. So these are a gloss spray again, so this is going to be different. I've also got some Finnabair Sparks paints. So these are very metallic, shiny paints, acrylics. I've got, so I said about for silver splatters, I've got a Deco Art Dazzling Metallics in silver. And I am thinking to use some of the matte waxes too, the new Finnabairs. Oh, my arm's hurting now. I'll do. So yeah, this is dry enough. Just this section here is a little bit more. So drying is also a very important stage in your mixed media, to make sure that things are stuck well enough. But also then when we go and add wet mediums on top, if they're not dry, you're going to make that runny again, so it's probably going to fall off, or at the best you're going to mix it together and get a not very nice colour. So yeah, drying is really important in our work. Okay, that'll do. Right, so I think we'll start with some of the Deco Art sprays. So I'm not going to spray them, I'm going to use a paintbrush with them. So I've got here is Night. So this is a very dark, like denim kind of blue. We've got Marine, which is a lighter blue. Give them a shake first. So this is a little bit lighter. And then I've got Turquoise. I just thought maybe for a little bit of accent colour. So I'll apply these with a paintbrush because I want to be precise. I don't want a spray everywhere. I want precise application. So I'll start with the two blues. And I'm going into those stones. And these are very thick sprays, and so as I've mentioned, quite different is that they're gloss. Most sprays are matte. They're a flat colour, there's no shine in them, and they're very pretty colours, I have to say. Kind of typical Dina colours, which is certainly a good thing in my book. So I'm going on those stones, but I'm going to go on to the piece as well. I'm not sure how it'll take. Oh, it seems to be taken on the Mylar. I guess because the spray is gloss as well. So that's interesting. So we'll see if that stays there when it dries. That'll be interesting to see. Okay, so that's that one. And we'll go into the darker blue. So this is the Night, was it called? Yeah, Night. Oh, that's a nice blue. So this is a richer kind of true blue. I don't want to take up too much of the background, so I've got that pretty paper. I don't want to lose all of that. They are flat, so there's not too much point going on the black. I mean, showing a little bit, but there's no shine in here, so it's not going to show on black very well. Okay, so that's those, and then I'll just go with a few dabs of the turquoise just for a little accent. And when you're doing it with the paintbrush, be really careful not to knock your bottles over. I've done that before and it's not great. Yes, that's make me pretty cross with my new sprays to do that. Okay, that'll do for those. So I'm going to quickly dry that because I don't want it to mix with my next layer, which that one. And when you're using these as a spray, because they're gloss, they will, a bit like the oxide sprays do, they will clog up that nozzle, the spray, the hole. So wipe that off with a wet cloth or baby wipe after use. It just helps stop it clogging. Let's give that a quick blast again. What's the time? Almost an hour, so we're not doing too bad. I like to not do over an hour and a half, so I know that's a lot to watch. So it is fading a little bit on the Mylar, but it does look like it's stuck a little bit, so that's interesting. I think I will need to experiment a lot with these sprays. They're very different properties to normal sprays. So this next bit is where our piece is going to come to life, because we're going to introduce some metallics now, which is where our black will start to pop out. And then we're going to contrast that with some matte waxes, so I didn't show you. So I've got the old denim, this is a metallic one, so that's the originals, but these are the matte ones. So I've got patina blue, charcoal black, probably won't use, but I got it out in case, and old white I will use. So yeah, that has coloured a little bit onto the Mylar, so that's interesting. So the main colour I'm probably going to use is my favourite Sparks Night Shadow. It's a blue metallic with green silver sort of sparkles, but I've also got Unicorn Hair, which is a kind of yellowy gold silver colour, so I thought for some highlights that would be nice. Okay, I think that's dry. Right, so Night Shadow. Ooh, it's such a yummy colour. You see that? Yum, 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 yum. So we'll start with this one. They're very, very pigmented and metallic, so you don't need tons. And you can see our moons have come to life now already, even with a darker colour. So the piece is coming along nicely. And we'll use the Unicorn Hair as like a highlight here, and I'm going to use, that's what I wanted the white for, the white matte wax will be like our highlight as well. Everything's stuck nicely now. Usually when I get to this stage and I'm dabbing on the micro beads and texture stones, they come off, but they're actually sticking pretty well today, so that's good. You could use your spray bottle here as well to get the colour into all those layers and just kind of roll that around. Okay, so that's that colour. I will just dry that because I don't want this silver to mix with it. I want it to go on top. So quick dry. These paints do dry very, very quick. So that's another great thing about them. Some acrylics take forever to dry. I don't know if it's something in them that purposely is to dry slowly, maybe so you can blend them, but these dry pretty quick. So we do need to remember our splattering as well. So when I'm doing this, I'll also add some splatters. So we've got a good shine going on here now. And the Mylar is holding out well. It's getting very hot. So you have to be careful when handling it. But it doesn't seem to be melting or anything like that. So that's good. And there's no smell. So I'm dabbing on and wiping off on the pot, so I'm getting a dry brush effect. So we're kind of using this like we would a wax. I'm going on the kind of tops of things here. And this is really going to help pick out the textures and features of our components here. It's got quite an almost steampunky feel, not intentionally. That's quite cool. I want to keep some of the black. Okay, I think that will do. Okay, so that's enough of paint. Oh, splatters. See, I almost forgot. So I'll just put some onto my mat. Add a bit of water spray. Mix with my paintbrush. Then we're going to go for some splatters. So there's our splats. So we have covered the challenge now, the theme of moonlight, splatters and rich blue colour. Okay, so another little dry. And we're pretty much there, people. We're just going to add some wax now and maybe need a title. So I have got what about those new Tim Holtz? Where did I put them? I'm trying to launch them up my chair before. Oh, here they are. Is there anything in there? Let's have a look. Needs to be fairly small. Oh, shine like the stars. Oh, how perfect. Thanks, Tim. So let's find that one. Shine like the stars. Perfect. I have a little collection of these on my shelf. I love these things. So let's see if we can find it. What did it look like? Okay. Oh, there's Light the Way as well. Oh, Light the Way. It's nice as well. Oh, where did I see that one? Light the Way. That could be good because that's what stars do, isn't it? Oh, we'll put it to a vote maybe. Let's see. Oh, see, that one's quite big. So let's see, where would we have it? So we can have Shine Like the Stars or Light the Way. I do like the text of this one with this piece. I think, yeah, Shine Like the Stars, my gut first one I picked. Let's go with that. So we will use our 3D gel, will be fine. Our palette knife. Dab a bit of that on the back. Another reason I like this gel for putting things on is it's dimensional, so it will sort of fit to the part you're putting it on. So my surface is uneven because I've got a bit of stenciling and some stones and all sorts going on there, so I can be sure it will stick. Okay, I think that's it. I think we're done, people. Oh no, we were going to put some matte wax on. Then we're done. We're almost done. So there's our title. So we're almost there. So I'm going to go... Now these are very fresh, very new. So we have to be very gentle. Should get too much on. So... just going to use the white to add further highlight, and it's because it's matte, it's a different feel as well to the metallic. Something different on all the rest we've got going on. And this I think it was Tiffany I'm really sorry if I say your name wrong. Solario? I can't remember your surname, I'm so sorry. Said like this white matte wax is going to be the new kind of white gesso for people for highlighting, because gesso will absorb, because it's the same liquid, you know, it's a wet medium. It will absorb a lot of the colour of what you're putting it on top of. So if you put it on top of inks or paints, it will often absorb that colour and you have to keep going back, drying, putting another layer on. Whereas this is a wax, so it doesn't behave that way. So straight away you get that instantly nice white. So this is like the new white gesso for highlighting, so it's quite interesting. Okay, I think that's it, folks. So let's have a look. So we've tried an experiment working on a piece of mylar, and it's worked really well. It did get warm on the back because it is a plastic, so be careful if you're going to try this. Just watch the surface. So we started out with some tissue paper we applied with matte medium, a very thin but sticky gel. We made our own paste here with some mousse from Fabrica Decru with our Prima heavy body gel, and we stenciled that over the top. We painted all our embellishments, some Hobbylicious MDFs and Prima mouldings in black gesso. We applied Dina Wakley gloss sprays and Prima Sparks metallic paints on the top. We added some splatters as well in Sparks, and we applied our matte waxes for a different look on the top there. We did add texture by mixing different things, hobbles, beads and micro beads pop them on with the matte gel again. So now when we've coloured it, we've got all this yummy texture. And we added a Tim Holtz chipboard for the title. So that's it. Thank you if you watched, or if you're watching on catch up. Hi Elle, thank you. And that's it. So do check out the Art Daily Cafe. There's a group and a blog for the challenge this month, and maybe you can catch up on some old challenges and give it a go. It's really good fun and pushes your imagination. Thank you guys. Bye.